feel the wind as I spread my wings. Eso lore, death, morphotypical entities by Dr. Rydenius. In my seminal work, Chaotic Creatia is described the means by which those creatures known to us as Daedra manifest themselves upon the mortal plane. It is this mechanism that makes it impossible to ever truly kill a Daedra, because they simply return to the planes of oblivion and then project themselves back to the Mundus once again. The implication is that there are and always will be bonds between these planes and our own. This begs the question, however, if you kill a Daedra within its perspective plane of oblivion, is it then truly annihilated? Is it? What about if the Daedra is slain while within one of the Adric planes of existence? I am fortunate enough to have had the privilege of engaging several Daedra on this subject. And I can assure you that they are not forthcoming on this topic. What I have been able to glean, mostly by way of observing their reactions to my, is that Daedra do not often, nor do they appear to care to travel to the planes of existence dominated by Adric influences. Realms such as the many varieties of Aetherius. Sovngarde being a prime example, do not appear suitable for the travel of Daedric creatures. I would hypothesize, based on this information and from information gathered from other resources or sources, that the Adric planes do not share the same energetic tie the Daedric planes that they share to one another and to the Mundus. Thus, it might be possible that Daedric vestige slain in a Adric plane cannot return to its home plane, and thus is left dead or simply trapped for all eternity. The irony doesn't escape me that if it proves true, then a Daedra can only truly die after it enters Aetherius. A Daedra can only truly die only after it enters Aetherius. Ah, how I amuse myself. All pure speculation, of course. But the time does pass slowly here, when it is passing at all. One must stay busy. Isolor, death of morphotypical entities by Dr. Redundius. The end. A dance in moonlight. Hanabi looked up into the night. Moonlight filled her eyes, and she knew what she must do. Many months she trained jumping over hill, then dale, then mountain top. Then she could jump no higher. She nearly flew, tumbling out into oblivion. All seemed a loss, but the twins saw and caught her in their embrace. Hanabi picked the light from Joan and leaped once more for Ner. Seeing what she had taken, the moons followed. They followed suit, dancing a spiral across the sky. When it seemed they might catch her, they collided and moved no more. Seeing the twins entangled so, Hanabi plucked the light from Jode as well. As she made to leave, they caught her in their embrace. Hanabi begged them to return her. For that was the land of her birth. Under the condition that she never again tried to steal their light, they returned her to her homeland. Since that time, Hanabi's brow has borne fine speckles of stardust, a reminder of her vow never to return to the stars. Iesolor, a dance in moonlight. Okay. Iesolor, a tale forever told. But I'm thirsty, and sunlight trapped in water quenches my thirst. I like this book. A tale forever told. The Sylvanar walked with his eyes open across Valenwood. His heart, torn from its spiral aspect, was an empty pit. From the wild came a Bosmer, unlike any other. Her eyes were of fire, hair of wind and rain. All who gazed upon her quaked in fear. All except the Sylvanar. Though she bared her fangs, he did not shy away. Though she sought to lose him in the underbrush, the vines parted for him to follow. She growled, filled with confused desires, wishing both to stay and to leave. In a bright clearing, she faced the Sylvanar and ripped at him with claws and teeth. Though he defended her blows, still his blood soaked into the grass and flowers. Flowers, they wept. Her rage spent, the Green Lady finally stepped back and addressed the Sylvanar. Why do you follow me? You are not one of us. She spat upon the ground, her fists still clenched, stained with his blood. But I am of you, the Sylvanar quietly said. Come, let me open your eyes to the green singing. Curious, the Green Lady came to the Sylvanar. Long did they stare, unspeaking, until they warmed union. The forest shuddered as spirit and body became one. With his touch, she saw the dance of Faron, a thief, and learned the ways and wiles of Valenwood. His emptiness filled with her passion, and his nameless longing waned. Their union both tamed the wild and invigorated the greenery. The White Knight reads Isolde lore, a tale forever told. The end. But it's time to find the next book. What do we got here? Tales of Tamriel. Oh, this, how many parts is there to this? Well, I have never read this before. ESO lore. Confessions of a Bold Alchemist by Alchemist Alito. I confess it. I am an alchemist. I love to mix things together to see what happens. The mystery and magic of the alchemical process fascinates me. On the one hand, it's acutely precise, with weights and measures that must be painstakingly a third. On the other hand, it is wildly impromptu, with plenty of room for spontaneity and impulsiveness indeed. Some of the biggest chemical breakthroughs must be attributed to aggressive leaps of faith and logic. And I confess, I love adventure. I like to explore caves and dark swamps in search of alchemical regions. And I enjoy experimenting with mixtures and concoctions until something explodes. In fact, the more risky or unexpected the undertaking, the more I enjoy the experience. I find such exploits exhilarating. Does this juxtaposition make me special? Brave? Just plain strange? I am certainly not a frail, scholarly professor hiding away my secret laboratory and toiling away in my experiments. But you be the judge. Let me tell you about one of my recent adventures. It happened exactly as I shall describe, more or less. I was deep in the wilds of Eastmarch, looking for old Sword's Cave, when a customer entered my alchemy shop. Blasted, an actual customer, and looked what I did. All I have to finish this later. But it has to be finished later. I have a customer. What a terrible way to end the book. Bastard. Confessions of a Bold Alchemist. Actually got things to do. I have to go. Who's playing that garbage music? Oh my god. That's so bad. Jesus fucking Christ. Call that music, eh? One more sip, I guess, and that's it. Crow and Raven. 3 short fables. Crow and Raven were watching Cormorant die for fish. I wish I could dive, said Crow. I like to eat fish. What? Said Raven. Are you saying Cormorant can do something that you cannot? That's absurd. You're twice the bird Cormorant is, said the Raven. You're right, said Crow. And he dove deep into the water. Half a minute later, he trashed his way back to the surface. Raven stood by. He stood nearby. Raven, gasped Crow. Why did you say that? Why would you tell me that? I nearly drowned. Raven shrugged and said, I like to eat birds. Interesting. Let's see. Problem with that. Crow and Raven were watching Cormorant dive for fish. I wish I could dive, said Crow. I like to eat fish. What? Said Raven. Are you saying Cormorant can do something that you cannot? That's absurd. You're twice the bird Cormorant is. You're right, said the Crow, and he dove deep into the water. Half a minute later, he trashed his way back to the surface. Raven stood nearby, waiting. Raven, gasped Crow. Why did you say that? I nearly drowned. Raven shrugged and said, I like to eat crow. Crow and Raven were watching Morning Dove. They were watching Morning Dove take a bath in a shallow pool. I believe I shall take a bath as well, said Crow. He flew. He flew down, splashed about in the pool, and then he flew back up next to Raven. That's better. That's better, said Crow. Why is that? Said Raven. My feathers. In your beak. In your eyes. Just black as before. Just as black as before. That's better, said Crow. Why is that? Said Raven. Your feather in your beak and your eyes are just as black as before. True, said Crow. But when I flew down to the pool, it startled Mourning Dove. She flew to her nest. Now I know where it is. Eggs for lunch, said Raven. Crow and Raven were watching Mourning Dove take a bath in a shallow pool. I believe I shall take a bath as well, said Crow. He flew down, splashed about in the pool, and then flew back up next to Raven. That's better, said Crow. Why is that? Why is that? Said Raven. Your feathers in your beak and your eyes are just as black as before. True, said Crow. But when I flew down to the pool, it startled Mourning Dove, and she flew to her nest. Now I know where it is. Eggs for lunch, said Raven.
Violence condemns you.
Crow and Raven sat in the tree by the roadside inn. Above, a drover snoring in a drunken stupor. Crow cocked his head and said, "The sleeping person has a shiny pin on his shirt. It's in a word," said Raven. "He got it for drinking ale. If you drink the rest of the ale in his mug, you'll get a shiny pin too." "Shiny pin," said Crow. He flew down to the table, drank the rest of the ale, and then fell over and couldn't get up. Raven flew down and plucked the pin from the drover's shirt. "Shiny pin," she said, and flew off. Isolor, Crow and Raven, 3 short tales. Thank you. Isolor, a cub tails, I should say. For my brother Inagdo on his 10th birthday. Your brother Izag. Once, in the long ago time, the people were content to live in the forest and hunt on the plains. They fed and ate and matted, and all was good. But it was also simple. The people saw that two legs sometimes he knew they could do so much more if they could reach the skies. Then one day a wise old monk came to the people. She said her name was Azura. She had been watching the people. She said, and had decided to give them a gift. A special kind of candy, she said. The end. But I'm so curious. What kind of candy is this? We're gonna find this answer. Could it have been moon sugar? It says that it is cub tails. Tails from a cub. That means it is possible that Azura provided us with the moon sugar. Very interesting. Death of a Wanderer by Anonymous. The last time I saw the old Argonian, I was taken by how alive he seemed, even though he was in the throes of death. The secret, he said, is not in running away, but swimming directly at danger, catches it off guard. Is that how you managed to find this claw? I asked, brandishing the small carving as if it were a weapon. I have found it among his possessions, which I was helping to divide amongst the beneficiaries. Should it also go to your cousin? His eyes from below. At this, his mouth withered, exposing his fangs. If I hadn't known him as long as I had, I would have think he was snarling, but I knew that to be a smile. I knew that he was smiling when he was dying. He croaked a few times to attempt laughter, but ended up wheezing and coughing. His rancid blood spraying across the bed sheets. Do you know what that is? He asked between coughing fits. I've heard stories, I answered. The same as you. Looks like one of the claws for opening the ceiling doors of the ancient crypts. I've never seen one myself before. Then you know, I will only wish that thing upon a mortal enemy. Give it to my cousin. Just be encouraging him to run into one of those barrels and get split by a draugr blade. Do you want me to have it then? I joked. Where did you even get this? My kind can find things that your people assume were gone. Drop something to the bottom of a lake and a Nord will never see it again. Amazing that you can find it along the bottoms. It's amazing what you can find on the bottoms of oceans. He was staring at the ceiling now. And by the way, his fogged eyes darted around. I could tell he was seeing his memories instead of the cracked stone above us. Did you ever try to use it? I whispered to him, hoping he could hear me through his fog. Of course, he snapped, suddenly lucid. His eyes within widened, fixed on me. Where do you think I got this? Where do you think I got this? He barked, tearing his tunic open to show a white scar forming a large star-shaped knot in the scales beneath his right shoulder. Blasted. Got the drop on me. Just too many of them. I felt awful. Since I knew how much he hated talking about the battle he had been in. To him, it was enough that he had survived. And any stories would amount to boasting. We both sat quietly for several minutes, his labored breathing the only sound. He was the one to break the silence. You know, what always bothered me? He asked. Why they even bothered with symbols? The what? The symbols, you fool. Look at the claw. I turned it over in my hand, and sure enough, etched into the face were three animals. A bear, an owl, and some kind of a insect. What do the symbols mean, Terkasa? The ceiling doors. It's not enough to just have the claw. They're made of massive stone wheels that must align with the claw symbols before. It is a sort of a clock or lock, I suppose. But I didn't know why they bothered with them. If you had the claw, you also had the symbols to open the door. So why? He was broken up by a coughing fit. It was the most I had heard him speak in months. But I could tell how much of a struggle he was in. I knew his mind, though, and helped the thought along. Why even have a combination if you're going to write it on a key? Why even bother to have a combination if you're going to write it on the key? Exactly. But as I lay bleeding on the floor, I figured it out. The Draugr are relentless, but far from clever. Once I was downed, they continued, shuffling about, to no aim, no direction, bumping against one another, the walls. So what? So the symbols on the doors weren't meant to be another lock, just a way of ensuring the person entering was actually alive and had a functioning mind. Then the doors were never meant to keep people out. They were meant to keep Draugr in. And with that, he fell back asleep. When he awoke several days later, he refused to talk about the Draugr at all, and would only wince and clutch his shoulder if I tried to bring them up. The end. He is so lower death of a wanderer. And the end. Well, I got things to do. But I'll probably be back later on today. I might be back on around 7 p.m. to read some new lore books that I haven't read before. I gotta go do some stuff. Yeah, no, not a problem, bro. I love lore books. Oh, damn, bro. Awesome. That's great. Thank you. See you guys later. What's your name or tag again? Yeah, bro. Yeah, check you out later, man. Like good shit. I sent you a friend request. You sound like a cool person.